Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Networking with NIFA. Hope everybody's doing great this morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to do quick introductions here. I'm Robin Ambrose, Deputy Director of Programs at NIFA. And then also with us today, you can see John Turner. Hey, John.
Morning.
And Elizabeth Brembrez.
Good morning.
NIFA. And then we also have Susan Poulos on here. You can't see her, but she's also on with us today. And we are going to be hearing from Bryan Seck today. We're very excited to listen to all the things he has to share with us. Bryan is the Director of Workforce Development with the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development and Prosper Lincoln. I think everybody is muted.
Does it have a couple of our...
But just in case, can everybody make sure they're muted? Yeah, thank you. Okay, and the other thing too that I just want to mention is as Bryan's going throughout his presentation, if you have questions, you can use the question box to type a question, and the NIFA staff will be helping to facilitate those questions to Bryan. Or you can also raise your hand and we can unmute you if you have a question you would rather just ask him. We can do it that way too. So whichever you're comfortable with. So with that, I think I'll go ahead and turn it over to Bryan. And all right, Bryan, you should have control.
I don't see anything yet.
Okay, you've got it.
We can
see your screen.
Oh. Okay. So can everyone see it now?
We can, yep.
Okay, and it's normal view?
It's got the sidebar on the side as well.
Okay. We'll get this figured out. How about now? Better?
Yes.
Look at that. Okay. All right, everyone. Sorry about that. Joys of online platforms. My name is Bryan Seck. I'm the Director of Workforce Development for the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development. And it's my honor to be here with the NIFA team to talk a little bit about what we're up to in workforce development, but also in our philanthropy in response to COVID and our MyLNK app, which is really exciting. So we're going to skip this video because I'm not going to tempt fate, but this is my super cute nephew, so we're going to skip that. But this is kind of our roadmap of conversation, is to think about kind of what are the cornerstones of what we're thinking about with workforce development in Lincoln, the context of Lincoln, because I realize there's people on this call statewide, and I am aware that there's things that happen in Nebraska, west of York, our EmployLink team, MyLNK, and the COVID fund. So that's kind of our roadmap for this morning. My plan is to talk at you for about 35 minutes or so, and then we will have a Q&A. And if people don't have questions, then I will call on you because I used to be a teacher and I will do it. Okay, so this is me, kind of where I came from. And then you will see this beautiful portrait of Tony Goins, and his phrase is relationships matter. And he's our Director of Economic Development. I used to work with him when he was at Cabela's before that. And I really think that this phrase resonates. So as we're talking about workforce development, it's my firm belief that everything that happens in workforce development is connected to relationships, because this is Nebraska and people are always like 2 degrees of separation away. So when we're thinking about cornerstones, really, does it help families achieve stability? Thinking about workforce development cornerstones. If there's an idea out there or an effort, who else is doing this? Or is it something that needs to be done as a new initiative? I think most of the time somebody's doing something. The question is, can you team up or do you want to take it on individually? I also think about, is it a work project or outside of work? Those of us who are in workforce development and housing and all of the things that NIFA does, a lot of us serve on nonprofit boards. A lot of us volunteer either with our place of faith or individually. The picture, that's my old pickup truck full of beds. This is something I do as a volunteer. We've given out 600 brand new beds to formerly homeless families. This is not a nonprofit. It's not a board of directors. It's just something that we do. So I also think so much of what we do as professionals, does it have to be a nonprofit? Does it have to be a program? Or can it be something that gets done in the community? I think that's especially true as we think about going forward with COVID-19. And then my last cornerstone that I always think about is, what does it look like in 3 to 5 years? And for those of you rolling your eyes as we all work in our basement like I am, yeah, you're really good at thinking 3 to 5 years out, Brian. I would change that to more like 6 months to a year right now. But normally that's what I think about. So just kind of thinking about this this Cornerstones piece, my favorite Teddy Roosevelt quote, besides galloping up a hill, is complaining about a problem without proposing a solution is called whining. That's one of my favorite things to think about. So I'm always thinking about, what helps families achieve stability. And for my money, it's services, housing, and jobs. For those of you familiar, the Community Health Endowment in Lincoln did this really amazing MAPS study. If you want to click on that, feel free and stop listening to me. You won't hurt my feelings. It's really pretty amazing stuff. And then I always think about knowledge plus connection equals resource utilization. In Lincoln, there's over 500 nonprofits. But I used to be the homeless outreach specialist for Lincoln Public Schools. And when I worked with a mom who'd never been homeless before, and 90% of the families that I worked with who became homeless had never been homeless before, if she doesn't know about those services, they don't exist. So for her to use the resource, she has to know about it and she has to get connected to it. So I think about that all the time, and I'm sure those of you who work on housing and how to work through the Section 8 process and how to get all that done know what I'm talking about here. Second cornerstone is really thinking about coalitions. In Lincoln, we have this amazing group called the New Americans Task Force, which really brings together all the organizations that work with New Americans. One thing we're doing in Lincoln that I'd be happy to talk to about, anybody in the state who wants to see what we've done on this, is we're really working with immigrants and refugees who have a degree from their home country. So if we have a Sudanese nurse, I'll take the Pepsi challenge that she doesn't have a great idea on how to become a nurse in America. So what we're doing is we're creating pathways to help her understand the process of how to become a nurse in America. So I always think about, how can we team up to get things done that fulfill the goals of multiple organizations. Multiple organizations in Lincoln want to help New Americans and refugees, but formerly they really weren't working together on workforce development, and now they are. The last two are, is it a work project or outside of work? I helped start the Suicide Prevention Coalition here in Lincoln, 6 years ago, when we had a really bad trend of young people jumping off parking garages, to be very honest. And what we did is we brought this coalition together, and for very little money, we created these signs, and we put them up in every parking garage in Lincoln. We trained every single parking worker on suicide prevention conversation. It's called QPR, question, persuade, refer. Since then, we have not had any deaths by suicide from these parking garages since this happened. It was an amazing community response. Every single parking garage has these, whether they're publicly or privately owned. Not every parking garage was super excited to have these, but they all did it after we talked to them and trained them. So again, this was not a work thing, but it was a community thing to make it happen. And as we respond and recover to COVID over the next 2-3 years, I think these kinds of efforts will grow because it's not anyone's job individually, it's all of us helping our community together. And then the last part is, what does it look like in 3 to 5 years? I always think about this, especially now. Everybody wants to do something with workforce development right now. In Lancaster County, we've had almost 18,000 people get laid off and apply for unemployment insurance. For context, that's about 2,500 a week. In normal times, 98 apply for unemployment insurance each week. We've been averaging over 2,000 since this began, and we're still, last week was about 1,000. So that's kind of the cornerstone pieces of workforce development. I wanted to talk a little bit about what MyLNK's up to, and then we'll get into MyLNK and the COVID-19 fund. And again, you're seeing the picture of Tony because relationships matter. So in Lincoln, average person in poverty is single white female, usually 2 to 3 kids with a high school diploma. That's what we're looking at for poverty in Lincoln. And for me, this is my person. This is who I am helping in workforce development. And my role with the Lincoln Partnership and the Lincoln Chamber, I'm not tasked with helping computer science majors get jobs. I'm tasked with helping her not work at the gas station, but to become a nurse, which was always her dream, or to get a more stable job in manufacturing or wherever she wants to go. When we think about our families, I thought this was a nice slide thinking about COVID right now, is, if mom's making 13 bucks an hour, 32 hours a week times 4 weeks, that's 1,600 bucks. If you're thinking about taxes, don't worry about it. She gets it back at the end under a certain income threshold. So for easy money, let's just leave that alone. And this is her life. She has rent, she has a car payment, she has utilities, she's got a pay-go phone, a burner phone. She's got childcare costs. She has a subsidy, but it's not free. You can see from her very basic budget that she has $4 left for savings. So when I think about COVID and I think about all the people getting laid off, yeah, they're on unemployment now, but that federal stimulus ends July 31st. Unemployment insurance in Nebraska is not a fun place to be. It's 50% of what you were earning before. So if she's on unemployment insurance without the federal assistance, she's not going to make it because unemployment's only going to give her $800 a month, which barely covers her rent and nothing else. So as we think about how do we move people into jobs, in Lincoln we're focused on this and I'll talk about it, but in your communities, I would encourage you to think about when this stimulus ends on July 31st, all these folks who are on UI will not be able to afford their lives. So how can we get ahead of this and help them get into employment now? And the last thing is under assistance, she gets $400 in food stamps. She gets 600 bucks in assistance. And largely in the state of Nebraska, we don't really have welfare. TANF is a pretty small program in our state. Just briefly, many of you are familiar with this, but this is another thing that will come into the forefront as families recover. And this is the benefits cliff. So for food stamps, if you make $0 a month or $2,200 a month for a family of 4, you're going to get right about $500 to $600 in food stamps and EBT. That's rough, but it's about right. The problem is if mom earns more than $2,200 a month, she will lose all of those food stamps, EBT, SNAP, whatever you want to call it, all at once. This is a pretty significant problem in normal times. I think it will be even more of a significant problem as we recover from COVID, because a whole lot of people have been getting on EBT and SNAP who weren't on it before, who don't know about this cliff. So I believe, this hasn't happened yet, but I believe it will, looking forward, that a lot of families who are recovering from COVID will lose these food stamps all at once. In an idea, which I think is not good, we really want to work people off the system. So that's really what this kind of stair-step line is for. That doesn't exist yet. It does exist for childcare, but in SNAP, EBT, this is something that we would have to change to help people work off the system as opposed to getting booted off the system right when they are becoming self-sufficient. In workforce development land, I think this graph is really critical. If you look at the 2020 graph, which is now, you can really see, looking backwards to 1973, that in 1973, 72% of all jobs could be done with a high school diploma or less. And by 2020, this year, only 36% of jobs could be done with a high school diploma or less. Certification is the name of the game. I don't have to tell you that. You guys are housing folks by and large. But for your people to be successful going forward across the state, and I should change that from Southeast Community College to the community college system, talking to a state group, my apologies. But the GAP program, GAP, provides free certification for community colleges. In the past, 2-year degree and 4-year degrees could be utilized for Pell Grants, but now, but certificates couldn't. So think about a welding certificate, a certified nursing assistant certificate, a business services certificate. None of those things were eligible, but now they are using the GAP scholarship. So that's something to really take advantage of if your communities aren't already advertising that. In terms of what we're doing locally here in Lincoln, I just wanted to share a couple things that you are more than welcome to contact me about, or just my boss, Wendy Birdsall, says R&D, rob and duplicate, feel free. The first photo at the top is my friend Ayana. We did a drive-through career fair here in Lincoln. What she's doing is she's handing a bag of information from 52 hiring employers in Lincoln and Lancaster County, where people could drive up, take that bag, and drive away. Now, you might notice that's a pretty nice car. That's I think it's a Ford SUV. We saw everybody. We saw people in BMWs. We saw people in 1986 Chevy Celebrities. And for those of you who know what an 86 Celebrity looks like, you know what I'm talking about. We had everybody. This event, we made 500 bags with all the flyers. We went through those in 3.5 hours in a 4-hour scheduled event, and we had a line of cars waiting for us when we showed up in the morning. We're going to do this again on July 13th. So this cost us $200 to run this event, and that was the cost of having like career fair signs made that we put up like political campaign signs. So we did this for very little money. It went off really well. People were super appreciative of the information. If you're thinking to yourself, can people apply for jobs online? Yes, but the ability to have these pieces of paper, spread it out on the kitchen table, figure out the ones they want to apply for, I think is really valuable. But also knowing that in Lincoln and Lancaster County, about a quarter of families don't have regular internet, and something so that it is harder for them to rely on the internet to apply for jobs. We advertised this across our community, and it went really well. What we're also doing here locally through our MyLNK group, MyLNK is a coalition of all the workforce agencies working together. It's not a nonprofit, it's not a program, it doesn't soak up any dollars. We all do this voluntarily, we work together. We're also sending out emails every single day to our case managers, the people who work in nonprofits and city and state agencies who are helping job seekers. We send those emails out every day to talk about the jobs that are open. And then every week we post those on the Chamber of Commerce's website so people can see the collected list. We used to do this monthly, now we're doing it daily and weekly. So what I hope you hear is that in Lincoln, and we're happy to share everything that we've done, we've pivoted from the bottom photo, which is in-person, massive 300-person career fairs, to a COVID-19 response. And we were able to do that quickly and effectively because relationships matter and we have our whole team working together. That drive-through career fair was 2 weeks ago. And already we've heard back from our employers that they're doing interviews, they're getting applications. We haven't heard about hires yet, but that's just because of background checks. But we've got really great response from our employers that this wasn't just people taking information, that it's people who are ready to apply. Now, that actually fast tracks our plans. Our super secret plan for this thing was that we weren't expecting a lot of people to apply out of this, knowing that a lot of folks on unemployment, that $600 a week extra ends on July 31st. We really wanted people to take this information, look at it, stick it under their bed, and then break it back out when they're ready to apply. But what we're seeing is that people are already starting to apply. Last thing on this that's cool, and I'd be happy to share with anybody, is we've worked with a couple of companies to match job description to ELL level. So for example, ELL levels go from like 1, which is basic, to I think 12, which is, you know, better than we speak English. Duncan Aviation and Lincoln Industries have taken their jobs and matched them to ELL level. So that way a person can understand, well, I was an engineer in my country, but right now my ELL level is a 4. So maybe what I could do is I could get on with Duncan Aviation and Environmental Services, get my health insurance, get my pay, and then keep moving up in my English level to be able to do the job that I really want to do. Two more things to talk about, then I will stop talking at you. We can have a discussion or whatever you would like. So the next part, so this is our workforce development effort that we just got done discussing, really focusing on how can we help people access careers even now during COVID. And normally my mission would be part-time jobs to full-time careers, but right now it's really sharing information with people who really might need to change industries. So last thing on workforce development is in Lincoln, and I'm sure in your communities, the hospitality industry has laid off significantly. At the same time, other jobs are hiring, work from home customer service jobs, manufacturing, Home Depot, construction, you name it. But asking people to change careers is really difficult. Think about all of us being asked to not do what we're doing now and go do something completely different. It's really challenging. So I think the workforce development challenge for our time for the next 3 or 4 years will be, how do we help people move out of hospitality into something else? If you think about your favorite bar or restaurant, and they've got 3 bartenders, they're going to hire back 1, not 3. So how can we help those folks transition into another job? So if we just got done talking about workforce development, we talked about what people need to be successful is services, jobs, and education. This is services. So MyLNK is a phone app on Android and Apple. It's also a website that has every service known to man in Lincoln, Nebraska. So people can search for, let's say that a family needs diapers, they ran out of diapers. You can hit search and type in diapers. You can look at categories. You can also look at a calendar of meal services, food services, and health services, which is the calendar on the right-hand side. For my money, that's my favorite part of MyLNK, is that 7 days a week, people can pull up the app or the website and see at the minimum 13 free places to get food every single day. There is no reason on God's green earth to be hungry in Lincoln if you have this app and you can get to the place. Now, I recognize that maybe you're disabled, maybe you're a senior, and it's hard to get to these places. We have services for that too, not diminishing those needs, but there is food out there. The trick is helping people access it and know about it. I can't tell you how many times when I worked with families in the past where a mom, usually a mom, because the dudes weren't around, usually a mom was crying because she didn't have food for her family, when in fact there was a food distribution place a few blocks away. She just didn't know about it. She just moved here from Beatrice, or she just moved here from Omaha, and she didn't know. So we talked earlier about kind of the equation of knowledge plus connection equals resource utilization. That's really where this app comes in. There's 500 nonprofits in Lincoln. We can't expect our police officers and families in need and DHHS case managers to magically know about all these things, but if they have it in the app, they can utilize it. So why an app? We talked a little bit earlier about how a quarter of families don't have internet access at home. I should have clarified that to say we're talking about low-income families, so I apologize, that's a clarification. So you see from these statistics, and these are from Department of Economic Development, about what people have access to and don't, but we also know people have a smartphone, they just might not have an internet cell subscription. So all of us are on AT&T or Verizon or whatever. A lot of our families have a smartphone, but they don't have that, and they also don't have Wi-Fi at home. So the cool thing about the app is that once you download it, it works offline. So if you have a phone but no Wi-Fi and no cell, it still works. So you can access information anytime, and anytime you're under Wi-Fi, it'll auto update. So this is our website. As you can see on the top right, the website translates into English, Spanish, and Vietnamese, and Arabic, sorry, it's in English. It translates into Spanish, Vietnamese, and Arabic, which are our top 3 non-English languages spoken in Lincoln and Lancaster County. Don't Panic Labs developed this for us, which is amazing. If any of your communities want to have MyLNK, we're working on the ability to license that technology, so please reach out to me if you'd like to talk about that, and I can connect you to Don't Panic Labs. So the website features the same things as the website, except it translates. The app doesn't translate yet. Someday it will, but right now the website does. So you can see some of the different categories that we have. There's a new category on there that I don't have in the screenshot. That's COVID-19 changes. So we've even added a category just for the things that have changed due to COVID-19. And it's really amazing. We've seen a doubling in use. So since COVID began, we've doubled the number of people who are accessing MyLNK from about 1,000 a month to more than 2,000 people a month are accessing the service. Last thing I would say about MyLNK is that, there's translates into Arabic. Here is our, sorry, I went too fast. That's what it looks like in Arabic. And then here you can see how you can search for different things. So if you search for diapers, it'll pull up all the places that have diapers. You can also see the calendar of medical and health services. And this was the team that made it. So really the whole community came together to take previously what was a PDF 200-page book and turn it into the app that you see now. So again, really thinking about knowledge plus connection equals resource utilization. I really believe that families just simply don't know about all the resources that are available in the community, especially families who've always been stable before, but who have been laid off or experiencing decreased hours now. Families just don't know. So having a resource like MyLNK is very powerful to share information without families having to ask. And I think that's a really interesting point to consider, is that there's a lot of pride in the state. This is a hardworking state. Nebraska has the 3rd most people who work more than one job in the entire union. Vermont is 1, South Dakota is 2, we're 3. People who work more than one job. We're not, by and large, people who really want to ask for help. And MyLNK is a pretty cool thing, because you can download it on your phone, or your pastor can, or police officers can, or anybody can, and explore these resources without having to talk about it, which I hope that makes sense. People can explore those resources, decide what's for them, and then go forward and access things when they're ready to. And then on the EmployLink side, when we're thinking about the COVID-19 response, it could be that lots and lots of people are not being able to get back into the job that they had before. When I talk to a lot of people who've been laid off, when I talk to their case managers, what I hear is that, oh, so-and-so is waiting for their job to come back. If that job was in a restaurant or a bar or a hotel or in hospitality, it's not my belief right now that all those jobs will come back by the time that person needs their paychecks to come back. So our challenge is truly, how do we help a person who's been laid off learn about new careers, connect to those careers through a case manager or through Nebraska Works, AnyWorks, through their unemployment officer, and then the resource utilization at this point would be, how can we help people change industries? So last thing I wanted to talk to you about is the COVID-19 fund, and then we can have our Q&A. And as always, relationships matter. On the EmployLink side and on the MyLNK side especially, we helped 6 or 7 different agencies come together to have a conversation about how could we have one resource. As you might imagine, there were some egos involved in that, and we were able to work through it. And now MyLNK is really the go-to for our community on nonprofit resources. So I would say relationships matter. Okay, last thing is the COVID-19 fund. So in Lincoln, the Lincoln Community Foundation and our Mayor Larry Gaylord Baird, successfully raised $500,000 from philanthropic funders. So these are big money people. These are the Lincoln Community Foundation. This is Kiewit. This is the Emeritus Charitable Fund. Pretty significant folks came together to seed this thing with $500,000. The community, people like me and John Turner on this call and Robin Ambrose on this call, small folks, regular folks, put in an additional $600,000. So about $1.1 million in the fund total. We've already awarded out about $700,000. We're awarding once a week. So it's very quick. We award on Friday and the nonprofits get the check on Saturday. And this fund is really focused on nonprofits assisting and serving those disproportionately affected by COVID-19. Disproportionately affected is not only a long word, it's the most relevant word. So I respect arts organizations. I bet my house and your house is covered in artwork. You can see the art in the background of this logo, which is a tower in downtown Lincoln. The arts organizations aren't necessarily receiving this money. These are the funds, these are the organizations that serve seniors, that serve homeless, that serve food distribution. So this is really thinking about who is disproportionately affected. We have a 13-person committee that reviews the applications, and we've really been able to move quickly because those 13 people come from all over expertise and are able to speak to different organizations and talk about, you know, this is a real need in the community right now. Maybe this one is something that can wait. So we are awarding these dollars weekly, over $700,000 out the door. It's a really amazing effort among the community, and I think very speaks strongly to Nebraskans' desire to help others. The cool thing about this also is that these are direct dollars, so 100% of these dollars go out. None of it is captured by, I don't know, administrative fees or anything like that. So we have this 13-person committee, and you can see the website there if you want to learn more about it. So the overall piece here is that what we've done in Lincoln is pivoted what we normally do around workforce development to what's going on now. And we've pivoted our services to be accessible to everyone. And then the COVID-19 fund has really brought to bear resources in our community to assist those agencies who are working with people affected by COVID-19. So what I hope you heard is that these efforts, EmployLink, MyLNK, the COVID-19 fund, what's going on with helping people with foreign degrees get back to their careers here and increasing their income, is that this fits the cornerstones of what we do, of helping families achieve stability, teaming up or taking it on, having it be inside or outside of work, and of course, what does this look like in 3 to 5 years? The last thing that I would say is we created an effort called the Lincoln Manufacturing Council that's part of the task force work. And when we're thinking about what does this look like in 3 to 5 years, this is a 6-week class to introduce people to manufacturing once a week. This gentleman took the class. He was an engineer in Iraq, but was working at Goodwill here in Lincoln, making $9 an hour. He took the class, got hired by a local manufacturing company at $24 an hour. So he tripled his income by going through a 6-week class and getting the knowledge that he needed to be successful. I think as we move forward in this COVID-19 response, these kinds of homegrown solutions and efforts to reach out to people who are ready to move into careers, people just need the knowledge and the connection to utilize the resource. So I thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to ask questions or answer questions. And please know I will call on folks as a former teacher. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Bryan. Great job as always. We had a question that I thought might come up today, and that was, is this app available in Omaha? And I know people have talked to you before about expanding this app to other communities. So if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so the app is currently available in Lincoln only right now. However, we are in conversations with different communities to have it be available in other places. So if the folks in Omaha would like to have it, I'd be happy to connect you to Don't Panic Labs, who's put together a model for how that would work in other communities. It's not free, but it is something that Don't Panic Labs is willing to do, to have it be, you know, my Columbus, my Beatrice, my North Platte, my Omaha, to be able to grow. So the answer is not right now, but if there's a group of people that want to come together to make that happen, we could absolutely do that.
Excellent, great. Let's see here. Someone asked, is North Platte one of the communities you've been visiting with or visited with?
In normal times, so the Employ LNK group, there's Employ Beatrice, there's Employ North Platte, there's different groups who've come together. So in normal times, we talk quarterly across different workforce development efforts that's organized by the Department of Labor. But I haven't talked to anyone in North Platte specifically individually.
Okay, thank you.
It looks like somebody asked if we could share your PowerPoint slides, Bryan. And so
yes.
if it's okay with you, we'll post them on our website. And then we're also recording this. And so we'll also be posting the recording of this on our website as well. It's just NIFA.org.
Sounds great.
Bryan, one of the things that obviously is great about Lincoln is that relationships and collaboration. And I think the work that you've done with the Homeless Coalition and this app is helping prepare us for the CARES Act funding that's coming through Nebraska. Yeah. Many people that you know are meeting to kind of prepare for this, the amount of funding to help with eviction prevention and things like that. I guess, do you see the Lincoln COVID Relief Fund kind of working alongside that funding as it comes in?
Absolutely. So when I think about the CARES Act funding coming down, for those of you who were around in 2008, you remember federal dollars coming in then, and also after 9/11, if you were here for that or working during that. So I think the CARES Act dollars, we're not exactly sure yet exactly where they'll go, but certainly some will come down to things like housing and assistance. When I think about rent assistance in Lincoln and across the state, I think about how can we help people who are getting behind on rent stay housed. And for those of you who do this for a living, you know, and as your ex-homeless outreach guy, I definitely know it is hard to help people come up with $2,000 to $3,000 when they're behind on rent. So the COVID-19 fund here in Lincoln has given, oh man, of the 700,000 we've given out, I bet 150 or 200,000 are focused on rent assistance and working with the agencies who do that. So the COVID-19 fund does not know the individual family, but the agency that serves them does. So we provided agencies like Community Action, Center for People in Need, Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, with dollars to help with rent assistance, because they already have the systems in place and the relationships to do that. But I would definitely say with the CARES Act dollars, we're for sure going to see some funding coming in. And I hope that the funding goes to the agencies across the state who have the relationships with people to successfully utilize those dollars.
Great, yeah. Well, I know that coordinated entry is a system that's developed in Nebraska to kind of help address homelessness and rapidly rehouse people that were homeless. And we've asked Jeff Chambers from UNL and Randy McCoy from Omaha's metro area continuum of care for the homeless to talk in June. So I think every day we learn more about CARES Act and what that funding, how much is coming in and how it's going to help. So very good. We have any other questions, Robin?
Yep, it looks like we have another question about do you foresee this ever developing into like a My Nebraska app that would encompass the whole state?
Yes, so we've talked about that. So the origins of MyLNK were mostly anger. So the reason why we created MyLNK is we had these PDF books that people like myself and John, when he was at Region 5 back in the day, and other folks would carry these books around. And so we created the app to basically just have an electronic resource. Now, the cool thing is, to the point about the question, can it be at My Nebraska? We've talked about that, potentially divided up by region. So perhaps by community action. Community action divides up the state. Community action of Western Nebraska, community action or NCAP, Eastern Nebraska and Omaha. So we've talked about doing something like that. The trick would be, how would you make sure that the information stays current? In Lincoln, what we do is we regularly reach out to all the agencies that are on MyLNK, and just every 6 months or so, and say, hey guys, would you just make sure that everything is right? And then if anyone's exploring the app or the website right now, there's a button that says report incorrect information. That fires up an email. That email comes to my team, and we make the updates on the back end of the database. The trick would be statewide, would be how would you manage that process to make sure that the information stays relevant. All of us know on this call that the surest way to lose relationships with our clients and our families is to provide bad information. So in Lincoln, I'll take the Pepsi challenge that information is updated and solid. It changes all the time. We make 15 to 20 adjustments to the app a week. The trick would be, if we went statewide, how would you do that effectively and I think respectfully to everyone? That would be the challenge.
I was just responding to someone's question. They asked about the property manager. How do we reach out to someone that might be able to help someone with eviction prevention or rent assistance and the COVID dollars? So my recommendation, as we know, in Lincoln, the Community Action Partnership of Lancaster and Saunders County does a lot of eviction prevention work and rent-wise and emergency assistance. And so that kind of is the overall community action network of Nebraska. There's many great partners, but that's a good start. And they usually are at the table of all these meetings when we're discussing. So good question.
Yeah, one thing that we've done in Lincoln, and I'd be happy to share these with Robin and John, and we can send them out to the group, is the city of Lincoln created posters that we then shared with all the property managers in Lincoln that basically describe in very, very basic terms. We also translated them into multiple languages about how to apply for unemployment insurance, how to apply for Medicaid. There's a lot of people out there who are now eligible for Medicaid and SNAP and other things because they've been laid off. So we've really worked very closely with our landlord association and with our property managers to make sure that we're sharing that information out. They're also sharing information about MyLNK and jobs. Property managers and landlords, they don't want to evict if they don't have to, because that's a lot of work. They have to go find somebody new. But I know on this call, I don't have to tell you that. But we've really shared that information out very directly. And I've even had landlords text and call me and say, hey, where can I get more of these posters? I need more Arabic speaking posters. So we've really shared those out very intentionally, with the idea being, let's not recreate the wheel. This is not a new program. Let's just increase awareness of the programs that people are able to enroll in. DHHS across the state has seen about a 33% increase in enrollment in programs. So they've definitely seen an increase. And so I think we want to make sure that people are able to stay stable. And if they need to use programs for a while, that's okay until they get back on their feet.
Yeah, so much of it is just getting the information to the people. And that's why, questions come up about how do we have My Nebraska, or like you said, My Columbus. Definitely a need. A lot of it is just knowing what community resources you have available in your area.
Absolutely, and so I would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about 211. So 211 is the United Way funded effort, and so in Lincoln, 211 and MyLNK work together. So MyLNK is the text solution, the website and app solution, and 211 is the voice call solution. Excuse me. And when we look at who uses 211 statewide, it's largely people 60 plus. So 60 years old and plus are calling and asking for resources, and younger folks are really wanting to use an app or use a website. So we really see the MyLNK 211 as an excellent combination of services. So that way we're reaching everyone. We definitely wouldn't want to not have 211 and then not have a place for seniors to be able to call in or feel most comfortable calling in. At the same time, we also know that younger folks aren't calling. When's the last time your 22-year-old cousin answered their voicemail, right? So we need to just kind of know that we have generational differences across, and we want to make sure that we're reaching everyone. Also, MyLNK translates into multiple languages, which is helpful as well.
Yeah, very good. Well, and your comment about relationships is so important in the communities, working together, getting involved in different task force, and sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So next time you get an email asking you to be a part of something, you can check it out. This is a good example of that.
Absolutely, and you know, across the state, I think the case manager listserv that we've put together is a really low cost way of being effective, I think, in this COVID environment. If that's not already something that you have in your communities, is to get a listserv together of all the community action folks, of all the community college advisors like Central Community College, putting that list together of your case managers, of your SNAP EBT folks, and then sharing out things like MyLNK and especially jobs right now. We can't expect all of our helpers out there statewide to magically know who's hiring right now and who's not, because the world got turned on its head. So if you're a case manager of any sort, domestic violence, income, anything like that, you're a probation officer, you're getting an email from me once a week with every damn job that I know about in our community. So that way, these folks aren't spinning their wheels trying to figure out where to go, or tell their clients where to go. They already have it, and then they can really utilize the relationships with those folks to help them apply for jobs or get the resources that they need or housing that they need to be successful. So I think I tried to highlight some things we've done here that don't cost money necessarily, but they do require relationships and just some organization. And a lot of communities already do this stuff.
See,
Bryan, we had another question about someone asked if you could elaborate more on what is all entailed in the on-site ELL classes and who is all offering this.
So there are companies in Lincoln who offer ELL classes on site. So TMCO does this, Duncan Aviation does this, there's a few others. These classes are taught by local nonprofits like Lincoln Literacy and the Center for People in Need. And then these classes are tailored to the language that people need for those particular jobs. So aviation focused language, manufacturing focused language. So really helping people access the vocabulary that they need to be able to do their jobs. A lot of our immigrants and refugees speak pretty good English, which is awesome, but they're not going to know the word for landing gear necessarily, or engine components or words that I don't know. So it's really helping people be successful on the job. Several of these companies actually pay their people. They keep them on the clock during the class, and it's either before or after shift, but they keep them on the clock. And then the other part of this is really helping companies statewide, anybody, take a look at your job descriptions and then match those up to ELL level. So let's say that you're in Western Nebraska and you've got a company there and you work with Western Nebraska Community College and help them say, okay, guys, here's the jobs. Environmental services, the first step, then manufacturing step 1, manufacturing step 2, manufacturing step 3, and then say foreman, manager, something like that. Companies are matching those job descriptions to ELL level. So that way, there's 2 reasons for that. One is that you can help people who are already working at your company move up. And at the same time, you can share that information out in the community to help people understand just because you're an immigrant or refugee doesn't mean you only can work the entry-level job. Here's the process to grow within the company and to maybe get back to what you used to do in your home country. So it's kind of a two-step process. There's the ELL classes themselves, but there's also the mapping process for a company to complete to help people understand how to grow.
Okay, did we answer our translation services noted in the app? I see that question.
So what we used for translate, the app doesn't translate right now, only the website does. The app would be very hard to maintain with multiple languages. We haven't figured out how to do it yet because we would need a MyLNK Arabic app, a separate app. The reason for that is since we've had it work offline, which is one of its best features, that means it can't use the internet to translate, which means we would have to have different apps for different languages. So instead of trying to do that and trying to maintain multiple apps, that's why we created the website. The website itself, the front page of the website, with all the different categories, those are all human translated. So those are translated by people here in Lincoln who speak these languages, and they are culturally correct. So mental health, things like that. Those aren't really words that you want to translate just from Google. And then the program descriptions, the more you dig into the data, that stuff is translated by Google, but we've really had people go through it and look at it and tell us when there need to be changes. So the top level informations are hand translated. The deeper you dive, that's translated by Google API.
Okay, but if someone wants to find translation services, that actually should be easy to find in the app if you need a translator resource for that.
Oh, yes, it is. It's in there.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're covering both sides of that question.
There's a category within the app and the website that's refugee and immigrant services, and it's in there.
Okay, great, thanks.
Sorry, took a deep dive into how we did it, and that really wasn't the question, but that's how we did it.
Well,
if it's helpful for anyone.
It was, yeah.
If anyone does this in the community or wants to talk about it through MyLNK, that's great. But we really spent a lot of time making sure that those top level categories were translated in a way that people would understand, not just using like a dictionary.
Okay. You see this other question here, Robin? It looks like a good one. Has your organization had the opportunity to talk about your doing at the governor's regular COVID-19 news conferences? Lots of folks follow these broadcasts and may be inspired to take action in other parts of the state by what you are doing.
We haven't been on the governor's press conferences. We have participated in the mayor of Lincoln's press conferences, just talking about the jobs that are available in the community, highlighting MyLNK, talking about those posters that we put together. So, if anyone wants to call Governor Ricketts' office for me and, put in a good word, that would be awesome. No, that's a good idea. We probably should reach out to the governor's office and just tell them, like, the cool thing is, and the reason I was excited to come present to this group is that all of these things that we do here that we highlighted in the PowerPoint, they don't cost money. These are efforts that we've done together to help our families. So it's not like you need to go get a grant to do this or you need $1 million a year to do this. We've managed to do this here together. So I appreciate that. Thank you for thinking that we'd be worthy of being shared with the governor's office, and we can definitely do that. Reach out through my office and see if they'd be willing to allow us to present some of the things that we've done.
Great. Yeah, I think especially for when the CARES Act money comes through. I mean, I know there's 500,000 coming to Lincoln for emergency solutions grant money, and 3 million in the balance of state, and 1.4 million in Omaha, all that stuff. Once that rolls in, I would think that the governor's office would want to get that information out. So
Definitely. And I'd say the last thing that I would say to anyone who's thinking about kind of the workforce world and the housing world, and I'm sure you guys know this, but it's worth saying, is that, you know, on July 31st, the world changes unless something else changes. So on July 31st, that's when the extra $600 a week that goes to everyone on unemployment insurance ends. Now, could that be extended? Sure. Does anyone know? No. So in the PowerPoint presentation, we talked about how trying to plan 3 to 5 years ahead. No, not right now. So really what we're thinking about is on July 31st, those payments end, and on August 1st, the very next day, Governor Ricketts has said that everyone who's on unemployment insurance has to resume job search. So if any of you are doing some job fairs or thinking about how do we help people access jobs, I assure you, everyone who's on unemployment insurance knows about that July 31st time that the $600 a week ends. So here in Lincoln, we did that career fair, the drive-through career fair, 2 weeks ago. We'll do it again on July 14th, knowing that that's about the time when people are thinking, oh man, I need to get back into the workforce because living on unemployment insurance regularly is not going to cut it. I'm losing that extra $600 a week. So I would say if any of you are thinking about workforce, July 31st is when the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, good point. We have a comment here. As an FYI, for people getting the first job as immigrant, say you need to find a job that pays into Social Security as opposed to a cash job or trade for service type job. This is important for Social Security. You have to make around $5,200 per year for about 8 years before you're eligible for Social Security.
Excellent point. Totally,
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for that comment. How we doing, Robin?
I think we're doing good. I see one other comment about how important rental assistance is and about the idea of any federal funds being used to provide rental assistance. And I know there's been discussions about that, and I know there's going to be a lot of things probably that will be coming down the road that will shed more light on what all of those COVID funds will be used for. But I think that's a really good point as to how important that can be. This comment was about rental assistance, but also, for those who can't make their mortgage payments too. So.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And all of us, have social media websites. I know that we are always looking for news articles to share on our Facebook page. So if there is information about this, check NIFA's site. I know Bryan posts a lot on Facebook and on LinkedIn because I usually grab articles he shares and then we share them on NIFA's page. So very good.
Yep. And then there's another question about your contact information, Bryan. I think that's in your PowerPoint. So once we post that, then everybody can call you or email you.
Sure. All right. I'll send the bill to Tim Kenny at NIFA for any communities. It's free to you guys, but we'll bill Tim. So just we'll take it from there. Yeah, my email's on the PowerPoint, and we'll share that out.
Yeah, great.
Great.
Okay. Well,
thank you.
Yeah, I think we're at 11 o'clock, and that is what we had scheduled to go to 11. So, and I don't see any more questions. Do you, John?
I do not.
I have
Just
a lot of thank yous. Yeah. So I want to say, Bryan, thank you so much for sharing this information with all of us. It's so important, and we really appreciate you joining us today. And I also want to just thank all the NIFA staff for really getting us geared up to do lots of virtual trainings and presentations during this time so that we can keep people connected and keep talking about important topics. So along that lines, I just want to mention that most of you know that we are unable to have our conference this year, the NIFA conference that we usually have. It was supposed to be in March, and we were trying to postpone it till June, but now we're just going to wait and have it next year. And so we are kicking off next week a series of virtual webinars that will highlight some of those conference sessions that we were going to have. So the first one will be a week from today, and you should check out our website or watch it on your email for information about that. It is a panel that will talk about best practices in housing first. So that'll be on Wednesday of next week, and then on Thursday we have another networking with NIFA where we will hear from Credit Advisors Foundation. So, and I think that's about it. John or Brian, any other last comments that you have?
No, this is great. I will share the City of Lincoln posters that we put together. So if any communities want to utilize those, I was just taking those out and I'll send them on.
Oh, that would be great. And we can, if it's okay, we can post those on our website too.
Oh yeah, please do. They're public documents. So.
Okay. Sounds great. All
Thank you
right.
very
Well,
much.
thank you again, everybody. Take care.